With you guys today. Damn! An Angel Reese hit piece. This Angel Reese article, published by Yahoo Sports, didn't hold back one bit. From the get-go, it was on sight, it seems. Exposing the organization, couldn't stand her. Locker room cancer. The locker room now doing backflips that Angel Reese is gone.
The locker room was practically doing bat flips the moment she walked out the door. It wasn't just a trade, it was a total cleansing of a culture that had become toxic from the inside out. Angel Reese thought she was the untouchable face of the franchise. But the Chicago Sky didn't just move her, they shipped her. The word on the street is that the tension had reached a boiling point, where teammates were no longer hiding their joy. When the news broke that she was headed to the Atlanta Dream, the relief inside the building was palpable. This wasn't a standard basketball transaction, it was an organizational statement that the era of drama was officially over.
The organization couldn't stand her. Locker room cancer. The locker room now doing backflips that Angel Reese is gone. The whole double-double debacle. I thought we were done with this Angel Reese to the Atlanta Dream story, but it just gets crazier and crazier the more comes out. It seems like Jeff Pagliocca was the one packing her bags himself. Let's get right into it, shall we? Please like the video, hype the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below and subscribe to the channel. That I would greatly appreciate it. They were getting sick of her.
This wasn't some whispered rumor in a hallway, it was a full-blown hit piece published by Yahoo Sports that left absolutely nothing to the imagination. The article didn't just critique her game, it exposed her as a locker room cancer who had the entire organization on edge. From the jump, it was clear that this was personal. The report suggested that the people who spent the most time with her were the ones most eager to see her bags packed. We have seen stars traded before, but rarely do we see a team's own inner circle reportedly celebrating the departure of a double-double machine. It seems the stats simply weren't worth the headache anymore.
The ice? Damn, like a G6, this is nasty work. The Chicago Sky have officially parted ways with two-time WNBA All-Star Angel Reese, shipping the star forward to the Atlanta Dream in exchange for first-round draft picks in 2027 and 2028. Off the rip, you know we're not holding back when we're using the words shipping. Not trading, shipping. Go ahead and mark it down. This reporter predicts that the Sky will be the long-term winners in that trade. Just about any.
The terminology used in the reports was devastating, describing her presence as a cancer that needed to be excised for the health of the team. For months, the public saw the highlights and the social media posts, but behind the scenes, the walls were closing in. It wasn't just about her personality, it was about the way her presence affected everyone else on the roster. When a player is labeled a locker room cancer, it's usually the end of the line for their tenure with a franchise. The Chicago Sky decided that even 2 All-Star appearances weren't enough to justify the apprehension and the controversies that seemed to follow her every move.
Right. But even more of a benefit is the fact that, according to some reports, Sky players are thrilled that Reese is gone, making it pretty obvious she was viewed as a locker room cancer. Sky teammates? Camila Cardoso? Folks, we saw Camila Cardoso at times last year. It seems like she's given up on the floor. We need to remember what we saw from Camila Cardoso last year. Her body language was... it looked like she was giving up at times. Whoa, she's sitting on the New York Liberty bench, if I recall correctly.
The way the trade was handled spoke volumes about how the front office truly felt. They didn't just trade her, they reportedly shipped her off like unwanted cargo. General Manager Jeff Pagliocca was described as if he were packing her bags himself, just to speed up the process. Usually, when you trade a star player, you look for a massive haul of talent in return, but in this case, the Sky were willing to take future draft picks just to clear the air. It was a move made for the long-term culture of the organization, rather than immediate on-court production. The message was sent loud and clear: nobody is bigger than the team, not even the Bayou Barbie.
Wow. Oh, boy. Sky players reportedly sick of Angel Reese as locker room relief hits after the trade. The blockbuster trade ends Reese's 2-season tenure with the Sky, during which she established herself as one of the league's top rebounders and earned All-Star honors in both years. While Reese quickly embraced her new chapter, celebrating on social media and stepping out in public with a new hairstyle, an anonymous source close to the Chicago organization claims the move has brought significant relief inside.
Critics are already predicting that the Sky will be the long-term winners of this trade, simply because they removed a player whose efficiency was a constant point of concern. Just about anyone can find a player who can rebound their own misses while shooting in the low 30s from the field. Reese's contributions were framed as efforts to make herself look better on the stat sheet, rather than making her teammates better on the floor. This narrative of stat padding has followed her for a while, but seeing it confirmed by the team's willingness to let her go for picks in 2027 and 2028 is a massive blow to her reputation. The circus has finally left town.
Tyler Marsh, quote, "There is no love lost, and when Angel returns for a game with her new team, she will be the enemy, but everyone with the Sky is very happy that she is gone." Now, I will say this, whether this is true or not, she will be the enemy. I 100% believe the Chicago Sky will do a tribute video to Angel Reese. 100% deep down in my heart, I feel the Chicago Sky will do a tribute video for Angel Reese. Now, some people on the bench be looking and saying,
the reports coming out of the locker room are brutal, with insiders claiming that the relief felt by the players was almost instantaneous. There had been so much apprehension between the roster and Reese that the atmosphere had become stifling. Everyone is reportedly happy that they no longer have to deal with the various controversies she brought upon herself. Whether it was the social media drama or the off-court distractions, the team was tired of being a secondary story to the Angel Reese show. The locker room relief was so significant that it overshadowed the fact that they had just lost one of the league's top rebounders and a major box office draw.
we have to get good players. We have to get great players. That's a non-negotiable for me. It appears they are moving to get great players, just not quite how she envisioned. They'll be seeking them in the draft over the next 2 years, and the team will have Reese to thank if it finally turned their fortunes around during that time. This was a hit piece. Make no mistakes about it, folks. Was there some truth in here? Yes. Am I sure that teammates were relieved? Vandersloot, Haley Van Lith, Camila Cardoso? Yes. But damn! I wasn't expecting this. Especially from a Yahoo Sports.
Camila Cardoso was one of the players highlighted as having visible friction with Ree throughout the season. At times, Cardoso's body language on the floor looked like someone who had completely given up on the situation. It's hard to build a winning culture when your twin towers aren't on the same page, and it seems the organization chose Cardoso's potential over Reese's production. Watching Cardoso on the bench, it was obvious that the chemistry was fractured beyond repair. With Ree gone, the pressure is now on Cardoso to prove that she wasn't the problem. But the initial reports suggest she is among those who feel a weight has been lifted.
Shout out to Bang. We have a little bit of Kennedy Carter defense here. The irony of Kennedy Carter is that she was the poster child of that locker room toxicity in the first season, but it didn't change after they ran her out of the WNBA. Says a lot. You're absolutely right. Spoon's favoritism towards Reese had to be a point of contention for the rest of the team as well that year. I know Carter was no saint, but something tells me she took the fall for some of Angel's antics. Man. This is yikes. I'm not too surprised given her history with teams, but yikes. Whoa. I know a hit job.
Then there is the Haley Van Lith situation, which adds another layer of irony to the entire debacle. We all remember Van Litha's reaction to being drafted to Chicago, where she looked less than thrilled to be joining the squad. Now that Ree has been shipped out, the dynamic has shifted entirely. Reports suggest that even the newer additions were getting sick of the environment Ree created. It's a rare sight to see a locker room so united in their desire to see a star player leave. Van Lith and the rest of the Sky players are now tasked with rebuilding a franchise that had become defined by its internal strife, rather than its basketball play. The Daily Mail released some of the most brutal quotes from anonymous sources close to the organization. They claimed that there was no love lost between the team and their former star. One insider stated that when Angel returns for a game with her new team, she will be treated as the enemy. There is no lingering affection or professional respect left in that building. The trade wasn't just a business move, it was a divorce where the family was happy to see one side go. The level of animosity reported is something we rarely see in the WNBA, especially involving a player who was supposed to be the cornerstone of the franchise's future. Courtney Vandersloot was another veteran who reportedly felt the brunt of Reese's antics. There were multiple instances where Ree was accused of throwing her teammates under the bus, to deflect from her own poor performances. For a veteran leader like Vandersloot, dealing with a young player who prioritizes their own brand over the collective success of the team is a nightmare. The reports suggest that Vandersloot and other key figures are relieved that the front office finally took a stand. It's one thing to have a difficult personality on the team, but it's another thing entirely when that personality starts targeting the people they play with. The shadow of the Caitlin Clark feud looms large over this entire situation, as it highlights the difference in how the two stars are perceived by their peers. While Clark has focused on the court, Reese has often leaned into the controversy, which reportedly didn't sit well with her Chicago teammates. They were tired of answering questions about a feud that seemed to be fueled by social media, rather than actual basketball competition. The perception that Ree was more focused on her rivalry with Clark than on winning games for the Sky became a major point of contention. The locker room wanted a teammate, but they felt they had a media personality instead. The double-double debacle was the final straw for many observers and insiders. Ree spent much of the season chasing statistical records, sometimes at the expense of the team's offensive flow. There were games where the Sky were down big, yet the focus remained on getting Reese her 10th rebound or her 10th point. This type of stat chasing is a cardinal sin in a professional locker room, where winning is supposed to be the only thing that matters. Teammates can tell when a player is playing for the box score, rather than the scoreboard, and it eventually leads to the kind of resentment that blew up this roster. The New York Liberty famously exposed this during a game where they reportedly decided they had seen enough of the stat padding. When Ree was down 14 and still trying to force her way to a double-double, the Liberty defenders allegedly decided to shut it down with extreme prejudice. They were done with the narrative and wanted to show that her streak wasn't as impressive as the media made it out to be. When opposing teams start treating your personal milestones with that much disrespect, it reflects poorly on the entire organization. The Sky players were forced to deal with that embarrassment on a nightly basis. The tension eventually led to Ree publicly criticizing the franchise after back-to-back playoff misses. She went on record saying she wasn't going to settle for the same result they had this year, and demanded that the team get great players. She called it a non-negotiable for her future. It turns out the organization agreed that they needed great players, they just decided that Ree wasn't going to be one of them. By shipping her out for draft picks, they essentially told her that her demands were noted, but her presence was the obstacle to achieving them. It was the ultimate "be careful what you wish for" moment in WNBA history. Tyler Marsh's comments about Ree becoming the enemy when she returns to Chicago illustrate just how deep the wounds are. Usually, returning stars are greeted with a video tribute and a standing ovation, but there is a legitimate debate about whether that will even happen here. While some believe the Sky will do it out of professional obligation, others expect the crowd and the bench to view it as a total joke. The fact that this is even a conversation shows how much damage was done during her two-season tenure. The bridge wasn't just burned, it was demolished, and the ashes were scattered. The first matchup in Chicago is already circled on the calendar for June 9th. It's going to be one of the most hostile environments a returning player has ever faced. A source inside the organization made it clear that they felt the trade was very much needed for the health of the team moving forward. They pined for a locker room where they could focus on basketball, without the constant cloud of apprehension. Ree might be celebrating her new hairstyle and her new chapter in Atlanta on social media, but she can't outrun the reputation she left behind in Chicago. The league is watching to see how she responds. Coach Teresa Weatherspoon's favoritism towards Ree was also a major point of contention for the rest of the team. When a coach treats one player differently than the rest, it creates an immediate divide that is almost impossible to bridge. The report suggests that Spoon allowed Ree to get away with antics that wouldn't have been tolerated from anyone else. This favoritism reportedly led to a lack of accountability that frustrated the veterans on the roster. When the coach and the star player are in their own world, the rest of the team is left feeling like outsiders on their own squad. Kennedy Carter was another player who seemed to get caught in the crossfire of the Reese drama. While Carter was often the poster child for locker room toxicity in the past, some insiders believe she took the fall for some of Reese's behavior this time around. There's a theory that the organization used Carter as a shield to protect their investment in Ree, until they couldn't ignore the problem anymore. It says a lot about the situation that even after running Carter out of the league, the toxicity in the Sky locker room didn't change until Ree was finally moved. The common denominator was finally identified. The Yahoo hit piece even dug into the archives to highlight how Reese's time in Chicago was marked by off-court tension from the start. From the reported suspension to her absence during the remainder of the regular season, the red flags were everywhere. The organization tried to keep a lid on it for as long as they could, but eventually, the pressure became too much to contain. The fact that a major sports outlet would publish such a scathing review of her tenure shows that the industry's perception of her has shifted. She is no longer just the rising star, she is now a player with a significant asterisk next to her name. Ree has been quick to embrace her new chapter with the Atlanta Dream, posting social media updates and trying to control the narrative. But the words of her former teammates, and the reports of their relief, are hard to ignore. Moving to a new team gives her a fresh start, but it also puts her on notice. If the same patterns of behavior and stat chasing emerge in Atlanta, it will confirm everything the Chicago Sky insiders have been saying. The Dream are taking a massive gamble on a player who just saw her previous team celebrate her departure. It's a high-stakes move for everyone involved. Some fans are calling the trade a total failure for the Sky, saying they traded an all-star for a bag of chips. They didn't get a proven veteran or a high-impact guard in return, they just got picks that might not convey for years. But for the people inside that building, the trade wasn't about the return, it was about the exit. They were willing to take whatever they could get just to move on. That is perhaps the most damning part of this entire story. When a team is willing to lose a trade on paper just to get you out of their locker room, your value in the league takes a massive hit. The upcoming season will reveal who was actually the problem in Chicago. If the Sky suddenly look more cohesive, and the body language of players like Cardoso and Van Lith improves, it will be a victory for the front office. On the flip side, if Ree thrives in Atlanta and leads them to the playoffs while playing unselfish basketball, she will have her revenge. But for now, the narrative is firmly against her. The mocking from her former teammates, and the brutal honesty of the Yahoo Sports report, have painted a picture of a star whose light was blinding the people she was supposed to lead. Ultimately, the story of Angel Reese in Chicago is a cautionary tale about the difference between being a star and being a leader. While the double-doubles will live in the record books, the reports of a locker room in celebration tell a much more complicated story. The Sky have officially bet their future on draft picks and a fresh start, choosing potential over the current chaos. Whether Angel can find redemption in Atlanta, or if the same patterns will follow her, remains to be seen. One thing is for certain, the WNBA has never seen a fallout quite this explosive.